Welcome to World War II in the Eyes of the Beholder. Today we will be talking about Operation Lebensborn. This is World War II in the Eyes of the Beholder. I'm Matthias. So, in the past weeks we've been talking about Operation WWII, the attack on Denmark and Norway, but there's another important factor that happens a lot in Norway during the war. It also happens in Germany, and it starts in Germany, and that's Operation Lebensborn. Operation Lebensborn, meaning wellspring of life. You can already get that it's going to be kind of dirty. So, yeah. Was an operation to breed, yes, breed, a pure Aryan race. Developed by SS leader Heinrich Himmler and approved by Hitler in 1935. It started in the spring of 1935 and ended May 5th, 1945, at the surrender of Germany to the Allied powers. Was supposed to cleanse the Aryan race, as we've talked about in other episodes about the Polish Holocaust. I'll have the link to that in the description below. They needed to cleanse the Aryan race, and part of that is breeding, human breeding. So, this conceived of blue eyes, blonde hair, and not short. With the main base in Munich, Germany, over 10 Lebensborn houses were made in Germany at the start of the war, by 1941. These saw over 8,000 babies made. So this is kind of how it works. The women that were selected had to have a number of tests taken. They had to have blue eyes, blonde hair, as was the pure Aryan race, which actually happens a lot in Scandinavia. There's a lot of them there, which is why there was 10 Lebensborn houses, 9 Lebensborn houses in Norway. And they could not have any Jewish blood anywhere in their family, as far up to their great-grandpa. They had to make a declaration that there was no imbilicy in their family line. Imbilicy meaning cowardice or wimpy. They had to have a declaration that there was no imbecility in their family, and along with that, there could not be any genetic disabilities in their family blood. Of course, this did lead to the spread of AIDS, HIV, and other sexually transmitted sicknesses. And finally, they had to sign a contract that any child born to them was property of the state or Germany, and they had no claim to that. They had to show a certificate of their pure Aryan race as far back as their great-grandparents. So you can already see this right here, that it's kind of messed up. And Germany did not expect to lose the war, which is really sad at the end, and I'll explain why. So, Operation Lebensborn was it was developed by Waffen-SS leader Heinrich Himmler and signed by Adolf Hitler in 1935. So they started developing, and by spring of 1941, they had over 10 Lebensborn houses in Germany. So you can already see that there's quite a few. You know, not everyone's gonna have blue eyes and blonde hair and have all these stuff in them. So, and this could also be very revealing. If you went up to a house to inspect and take the tests to see if you could join the Lebensborn, and you had Jewish blood in you, you would go, that's right, to Jewish concentration camps, which saw quite a few women going there. So besides all this stuff, yeah, it gets worse. They would then go to this really nice house. It was big, it was comfortable, and I'll talk about that in a second. So they would then have a week to decide. So if they were selected, they would pick their mating partner and they would have get-to-know-them meetings. They would do game nights and other activities to get to know their partner. They would then have a week to decide, and this does not mean that one male with one female. Sometimes multiple female would pick one male, which led to the disease and spread of AIDS and HIV and other sexually transmitted diseases. After that, they would wait until the 10th day of their period, when the egg was most fertile. And then they would sleep with a higher Waffen-SS leader for 3 nights in a row. Hopefully it would get the woman pregnant. The men would often sleep with more than one woman, and during the process, even married men did it. The women were housed in a big building that was very comfortable. It was top-notch. It was incredible for the time. They were living as the Führer themselves. They saw it as their duty, and they were proud to if they did serve in the Lebensborn. Future husbands would not be so proud, but it made Hitler proud. If you joined the Lebensborn, you could say you were making kids for Hitler, or Führer. So it had, these buildings had movie theaters, game rooms, and very, very good food. So the mom would then, after birth, the mom would leave the child and make another with another SS officer, or they could stop depending on their status. These women were often ridiculed for being a German girl, that's what they were called. Many girls say it was their duty. While the men were at war, it was their duty and what they were responsible for in that time. So it was optional to have certain security measures taken to keep the identities hidden. And after the war, it was important, and very few kids actually tracked down their biological parents. Because the records were destroyed, because if you were a Waffen-SS higher officer, you could go to prison, you would be put into trials, and you could be executed, go to prison, or live the rest of your life in misery. So a lot of the records were not kept. So the child would live, after they were born, they would live with a pure Aryan family until they were age 6. Actually, they would be weaned by the mother until they were at least 2 months old. Then they would be sent to live with pure Aryan families until age 6. At age 6, they would go to German boarding schools. And at 12, the male would be enrolled in the Hitler Youth, and the female would be involved in BDM. Basically the Hitler Youth for girls, where you learn how to be a good wife and bring up your children in a German way. So when World War II broke out in 1939, our complex is springing up everywhere in occupied territory, with another 9 in Norway. These children would never grow up with a dad or mom, and lots of them would try to find their biological parents, with very few to none finding their parents. At the end of the war, both the children and the women were frowned upon and would live the rest of their life in hate and ridicule. And in Norway, it was actually a crime to be associated with the Nazis, which led to more ridicule and leaving children homeless, abandoned, and depressed. So, if you were a German girl, or the kids of over 20,000 pure Aryan babies were made before and during the war. If you were one of these childs, you would be ridiculed for the rest of your life. You would be abused, beaten, you would be spit or frowned upon by other families. And you would often live in boarding schools or orphanages until you were old enough to fend for yourself, which is really kind of sad. If you think about it, they did nothing wrong. It was ultimately Hitler who decided that this was a good idea, but it really wasn't. So you can already see that Operation Lebensborn was messed up and made miserable lives for over 20,000 babies, and many more women and men. So this was not good for Norway, especially because you could be arrested if you had any involvement with the Nazi powers. So this would be horrible for anyone living in this, and very few actually found their biological birth parents because, as I said, the records were destroyed, and you could probably count on your hands and toes how many people actually found their biological parents. It's very sad, it's messed up, and it caused horrible life for thousands and thousands of kids. But the women did see it as their duty. When the men were off at war, they saw it as their duty to do this, which is partly why so many did this. But it was really not good, because, a lot of people would be ridiculed in this, and it did see the spread of other sexually transmitted diseases, AIDS, HIV, other diseases like that. So this is just really sad and kind of disturbing, but it needs to get out there. A lot of history channels that I watch have not done this, like World War II and World Time, which I suggest they do because it's a cool topic. So I really had to dig in deep to get this research and stuff, because no one else that I know has done it except for the infographic show. They're pretty cool. So this is a really important subject, and it may not be known by a lot of people, and it's a cool fact, but it's messed up too. If you would like to see my other Norway invasion episodes, there will be a link in the description below for episode 1 and 2. Thank you for watching. This is World War II and the Eyes of the Beholder. I'm Matthias. See you next time.